Good morning, everyone, and thanks for joining today's stream. Welcome, David, Mike, Jamie, Alex, Vicky, Spacely, AJ, and Maine. Thank you guys so much for joining today. Welcome, Alex and Jay as well. The market is all over the place, and a lot of stocks are in the red this morning. Specifically, Robinhood is down a decent amount. They fell off of earnings. Welcome, Keisha and Bill, too. But basically, like every stock on my watch list is down. We have Apple trending down, Target, you name it, it's probably down. So we're definitely in for an interesting day. As always, let us know what stocks you guys are watching. But Tom, fill us in. Like, what stocks are you watching? Like, what support levels? Like, fill us in.
Yeah, I'm definitely watching the VXX this morning. I mean, man, it's really flying up as the market starts to gap down. Like we woke up this morning and saw a lot of stocks really gapping down. We just have almost every stock just gap down, like Tilray, gap down here, Apple, of course, gap down, Microsoft, another gap down. So just all across the board for some reason, almost all stocks fell today in pre-market, but definitely look for it to keep going it open. For example, with the SPY, it's really starting to sell off, but it did kind of bounce at like 430, 450. And I think that there's a pretty good support around 436 as well, kind of like where we came back up above to right now. But just watch for it. I think that we will get more downwards movement with the SPY, especially if we can fall below 430, 450. But always be careful. Sometimes when the market gaps down like this, you'll see a recovery, throughout the regular trading day. So we'll have to see how it goes. But with all the news going on and with the market actually selling off here, I think we might see it go down. And, we even have crude oil down today, Mike.
Absolutely. So welcome Jorge, Roberto, and Hunter to the stream. One thing I wanted to point out was one of my favorite opportunities right now is with NIO stock or NEO. We can see it's down 3% today. It's been getting smacked over the past couple weeks. And I think a cash secured put is perfect for this stock right now. Like if you're someone who's been wanting to invest in this stock and you just have trouble catching the bottom, or you're looking for an entry, or you just want to add more, right now, because NIO stock is pretty low, you can literally go out to, let's say, the October 15th expiration. You can sell the 30 strike put and you can get paid over $100 cash right now. The only thing is, if NIO is below $30 on October 15th, you have to buy 100 shares. And if you're okay with that, then it could be a win-win. Maybe it goes down to 27, maybe it goes down to 29, maybe it goes up to 50. No one knows, but you're literally getting paid to potentially buy this stock at a low price. So I definitely wanted to point that out for everyone.
Yeah, and that's actually a really great trade, Mike. And the $30 support on NIO is actually pretty big in its own right. So I would almost think that we could hold that in the end anyways. And if you ended up getting shares at $30, I mean, you're getting it so low that if you held for 2 years after that, I mean, you'd be doing pretty well with NIO. And, it's just one of those stocks. It's an EV stock. It'll have a lot of hype behind it. And, you would expect it to keep going up in the longer term. And it's just, it's not looking good today as it kind of fell below the $40 support. So I would expect it to kind of keep going down, and it's just going to keep creating these good opportunities over the next couple days to just sell some puts. And like Mike said, maybe even to average in shares. I really like it with NIO, and I'm glad you pointed this one out, Mike. And even back up to the high of its high from even just this last July, you could get a nice 30% pop there. So that's a pretty nice rise. Actually, it's 40% up to $54. So pretty crazy moves you could get actually out of NIO.
Good stuff. Alrighty, and then we have Keisha saying watching Palantir, and I think this is a great stock to watch. Palantir had an amazing day yesterday. It fell a little bit this morning, like every stock did, but it looks like it's recovering right back up.
Yeah, they are, and I'm glad to see that happening. Like you said, they did kind of fall down with every other stock today. Unfortunately, almost every stock looks like this in pre-market. It's really hard today to kind of find a stock that almost went straight up, but Palantir is recovering up very nicely, and I would expect some of the stronger stocks to recover up today, kind of like Palantir did. And we can see DraftKings is kind of recovering up like that today at open as well. Looks like even Apple and Microsoft. So maybe the whole market's just kind of, getting a nice little recovery here at open, but we'll have to see how it goes for the rest of the day. Cause yesterday was a pretty bad red day, and we'll have to see if that can kind of continue on today. And with the way it's popping up, I'm wondering if we might just kind of get a flat day, or, maybe a consolidation day after all this downwards movement's been happening.
True that. So, Tom, let's take a look at Baba real quick. This thing is tanking. It's down like almost 4% on the day. Hunter, let me know what you think about selling puts on this one. Like Baba, Baidu, maybe FXI, maybe KWEB. Like, they're tanking so hard. Like, part of me, like, I would love to sell puts on them, given that their premiums are so high. But then again, like, I don't know if I want to hold shares to this one.
Yeah, and whenever they were at 200 a share, I mean, people were selling some puts down here for like 180 and like 175. And, it looks like they might even end up getting assigned on a few of these, Mike. So just looking at it, you could definitely have some bad movement with Baba. And you know what? CNBC actually put out an article yesterday, last night, which I thought was pretty interesting. And it titled Hard Lesson for U.S. Investors. Chinese companies don't make they don't make the rules, China makes the rules. So obviously the US, the companies can do great, like Baba, Didi, JD, Baidu, like they could all be great companies with great balance sheets and make a ton of money. But, they're really stuck behind China. So it sucks for them, but that's the main risk with trading these Chinese stocks. And, I think that's been a risk for a long time. It's just, as the stocks were going up, people kind of forgot about that risk until, of course, China came in and reminded us all that they were still the kings over there.
Oh, yeah, for sure. All right, we have Maine saying only NVIDIA in my watch list is the green one. So, yeah, I mean, it's slightly in the green. Like, you look at the daily chart, it's technically a red candle from open, but it's still in the green, which is good to see. It's like really trying to hold this 190 support.
Yeah, it really is. And that's going to be a good thing for NVIDIA if it can hold that support. But it looks like we double topped up there and like we will keep going down. So personally, I'm just going to keep looking at it to the downside. I think that'll be the way to go over the next couple of weeks, of course. And, I also have Netflix in the green on my chart. And actually, Netflix is kind of turning up on the daily. And they actually don't look too bad, Mike. I mean, they actually had a nice little pop it open. And they broke that high of yesterday, which was surprising.
For sure. And then Hunter said he was looking at the Baba 120 puts for September 17th. And those are going for about $80 or like $85 right now. So Hunter, I might actually follow you with this one if you decide to go through it. I think it looks pretty good. And I mean, when you're going that far out of the money, all the way down to $120, it's pretty far out of the money, which is good though.
Yeah, I mean, it's really far and it's actually below the 130 support. So, man, I mean, it almost doesn't even get better with that type of strike. I mean, the chances of Baba hitting 120 and staying there are kind of crazy. So, I think that's a great one too, Mike. I might even follow along.
Good stuff. Alrighty, so let's see what's moving. So we have, on my scanners, Tom, the main stocks that are moving this morning are Baidu and NIO to the downside. Like I said earlier, basically everything's red. Besides UPS slightly in the green. You could say AMD is kind of popping up. It's holding its ground. I wouldn't even say it has good momentum. It's just slightly recovering. But besides that, it looks like there's just still a lot of selling pressure overall.
Yeah, definitely. And some of the worst stocks on my watch list are, Baba, NIO, like we've been talking about. But, some of the ones that are kind of getting pretty bad are some of these cruise lines, like Carnival Cruise. It's down 1.85% today. And they actually had a pretty bad gap down in pre-market. And, you're just looking all across the board at these stocks. It's just all the ones that have been rising lately too, like CHPT, Enphase, Palantir, Tesla, just all the marijuana stocks AMD. It's a pretty bad day, even though we might be seeing some green in the super short term, over the past 5 minutes on some of these stocks since open, keep in mind, look at the QQQ now. We're starting to get some more red candles come in, another sell-off starting to happen. And it's just a scary thing to see, almost all tech stocks are down. So really weird. And the SPY looks like it might start to pull back here too after hitting the 438 resistance here.
For sure. And then we have R asking about Apple. So let's take a look. AAPL, it's down basically 0.7% today. And honestly, I can see it falling a good amount more, maybe a retest of 143, maybe 142 over the next couple trading days. There's just a lot of selling pressure coming in across the market overall. And there was a pretty hard rejection off 150. So personally, I like it to the downside.
Yeah, me too. I think that was a pretty big rejection right there, and it was pretty defined. So I'll keep looking at it to go down as well. I had a pretty big support on Apple around 144, but it looks like we're just going to keep going down and end up breaking that. So I would definitely look forward to keep going down. And there, like I said, big support here around like 144, 145 area. But I have a feeling over the next day or two, we will go down below that. If not today, maybe tomorrow or maybe sometime next week. But it looks like that, just the overall market is up so much. Apple was at all-time highs. I feel like that the pullback could definitely get more accelerated, and almost all tech stocks are red. So it's a pretty bad day for Apple, just bad day for tech, and just watch out for these tech stocks. I think that they could keep going down for the next couple weeks.
Good stuff. All right, give me 1 second. All right. Let's see. With the next question, we have Bravo saying, "Good morning, guys. UVXY and VXX is my only love today." I know what you mean. Like, everything's down, which is great for those two stocks. But then he said, "Do we expect the S&P 500 towards 4,300 to 4,200 or even lower towards 4,000? Yesterday was panic. Hit the sell button on my phone and hit the buy button on UVXY." So, perfect. So we have Tom pulling up the SPX, and Bravo is referencing like 4,300 to 4,200. So let's take a look. I mean, I can definitely see a retest of 4,300. Personally, I don't see a test of 4,000 given the current market's catalyst. Like, if something crazy comes out, like the Fed say, "Hey, inflation is going crazy, we got to raise rates, or we have to do this or that or whatever," then that changes the situation. But right now, I can definitely see a test of like 4,300. And someone actually pointed out some, I forgot who it was. It might have been in the Discord, but someone pointed out like a statistic, like every time the market like pops by a certain percentage, which it did now, it like normally pulls back a good amount. I'll have to look back through the Discord to find the exact data point, but long story short, there's a lot of things pointing to the market pulling back, and that doesn't necessarily mean like a full-out crash, but I can definitely see like 4,300, maybe like 4,250.
Yeah, and this doesn't mean that we're going to see that tomorrow. Like, it might take a few days, of course, but I could see it going down too. And the market right now is just not looking good. You have stocks going down across the board. They're gapping down, and very few stocks are green. Like, on my watch list, I only have Target and Netflix, which are green, besides for gold, which of course gold's going up today. But man, SPX, really, I could see it hitting 4,300. I could honestly see it going even lower than that, Mike. You said 4,000 possibly, right?
Well, I mean, Bravo was referencing that. Like, personally, I don't see it hitting 4,000, like, unless like a crazy catalyst comes out.
Yeah, I mean, I think we could hit 4,000 pretty easily, just given how much that we're up and everything. The thing is if even if we hit 4,000 over the past year, we'll still be up quite a bit, which is a good thing at least. But I feel like we could, Mike, and maybe a big catalyst will come out, or obviously the Fed's going to react to the market falling if it keeps falling like this.
True. All right. And then we have Iranical referencing Amazon. So let's take a look at Amazon. How's it doing?
AMZN, they're the powerhouse lately. They've been really going up, but now they're gapping down pretty bad on the daily here. Honestly, just continuing to slide off, Mike. It looks like they're just getting closer and closer to supports here. I'll say there's a pretty big support level coming up around like, it's hard to say, like 3180 it looks like, and we're actually like right on it, just about. And then looking at the max daily, though, big support down here around 3,000. That's going to be the big level, I think, to look for over the next couple of weeks. But man, Amazon's starting to really slide off, and Amazon's been falling for a couple of weeks now, and this could almost have been like an insight into the market going down. Like, Amazon has been falling for like, falling way before the market started going down. That's for sure.
True. Uber is getting destroyed right now. So they're down like 2.5%, but like you just look at like the past couple weeks, like it's just been nothing but selling. Like, basically, like every day, I mean, for the most part, I mean, it's just tons of sellers coming in and just really driving this one down.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. Uber, Lyft, they're getting really hurt right now. Even like DASH, I think, was taking a bit of a beating. Let's go check out DoorDash really quick. Yeah, I mean, DASH is starting to go down a little bit too. But yeah, I mean, Lyft and Uber, for some reason, Mike, are just continuing to just die. I don't know what the deal is with them. Obviously, it looks like they posted some bad earnings. Lyft's earnings did not go well. Uber's earnings, I'm guessing, did not go too well either. It looks like they actually had some green candles on earnings, Mike, and they beat it. But it's all going to depend on like the riders and the outlook, and the Delta variant's probably causing a bit of a concern for them as well.
True. Alrighty. So Tom, let's take a look at X. It looks like that one's sinking pretty hard as well.
Yeah, US Steel. Hey, look at this. It actually hit right off of my trend line on the daily chart and went down. It bounced off this trend line like 5 times. I was kind of expecting it to just continue to go up and break this since we broke $30 yesterday, but looks like a little bit of a fake out there, and it ended up pulling right back and ended up going right back to the downside. So not a good move there, and a move right off the trend. So yeah, looking pretty bad for X. And I would say X is up quite a bit, over the past year or so. Up, like here, let's just see like how much money would we have made if we invested into X last October. So like, let's just check it out. We would be up about 284% right now with that inflation going on in steel and lumber prices. So really look out. US Steel was really making a lot of money off those high steel prices. And I would expect that to kind of stop over the next year or two as those prices of steel kind of go back down a little bit.
Good stuff. Alrighty, and then I know a lot of people were looking at Roblox. It's down like 4% today. This one, like over the past couple weeks, has just been bouncing up and down, and I feel like it's not tanking as bad as like other stocks in the market, like Uber or like Target or anything like that, or AMD. But it's still, I guess you could say it's still making higher lows, like on this like daily chart.
Yeah, it definitely is kind of making higher lows, and I'll tell you, it is kind of following this bottom trend line I just drew too. It's kind of following that technical pretty well, holding support pretty good around like $73. We bounced off of there a few times now, and I'm glad to see it kind of rising off of 73/75, somewhere really close. And I think we could see it go up again, Mike. And they've been going down for the past like few months, kind of consolidating. I know we were really looking at them on the way up from like 90 to 103. But I think that we could start to get another rise here over the next couple of weeks. And their earnings weren't too bad. They were actually better than last time. They did miss the estimates, but at least it's kind of going in the right direction.
All right. And then we have Santiago saying NDX is dropping crazy. Let's take a look. NDX, yeah, I mean, it's definitely falling a lot. We are close to that low of day, you can say. If we look at the QQQ, it's definitely coming down a little bit. Kind of the same thing with the SPY, but yeah, lots of selling pressure coming in. A lot of stocks are selling off pretty hard.
Yeah, and I'm really curious to see, Mike, like, do you think this sell-off can keep going like today, or like do you think that we'll kind of like get another pop back up, kind of like what we saw at open? It's really hard to say for me today. I kind of feel like we might just go flat or something.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough, because like it really is tough, and I'd have to analyze a couple more things, but let's remember that when the stock market goes up, like it's I really relate to this like quote a lot. It's like the stock market takes the stairs up and the elevator down, and it is very true. Like we saw yesterday at close, like the stock market just tanked, and it like when it falls quickly, and it falls like in significant amounts. So like for now, like I'm not like banking on like the stock market falling today, but like I'm definitely like I can definitely see it, and I just think it's really, really important for people to have some sort of hedge, especially if they have a lot of exposure to tech stocks.
Yeah, definitely. If you have like calls on these stocks that are at all-time highs, I mean, you better have some protection. Like, man, like we're just seeing so many stocks, even this one's not necessarily tech, but like we'll just use Target as an example. Like, look at how much Target was up here on the daily. Like, you just have to expect a move to the downside. And, like big institutions and like whales and stuff are just loading up on puts on the way up here with Target and some of these other stocks. So really look for it. I think we could get some downwards movement. And one thing to keep in mind is that while these guys are loading up on puts, they're probably holding millions of shares from like $125. So, like they're still bullish in the long term, but
right.
they definitely know how to play the market. So, definitely keep that in your mind. You don't always like, if you're playing puts, it doesn't mean you're necessarily, bearish on the market
right.
forever. I've heard of some people who refuse to play puts because they only want the market to go up or something. But the deal is just, if yeah, that's fine to do that. Maybe go play calls on like VXX or something then. But just always keep in mind you could hold shares and then be buying puts just as a way to hedge those positions.
Yeah, that's a great point, and I'm really glad you brought that up because like I look at unusual options activity quite a bit, and I know a lot of other people do. So like when you see someone buying, let's say, $15 million worth of SPY put options, like they could be buying those puts hoping that they lose that 15 million because that 15 million is basically just an insurance policy on all of the shares they own, or you know what I mean? Like a lot of times, like when you see a lot of puts being bought, like the smart money behind it can hope that they lose because they would make more money from the shares rising than they would from the shares tanking and banking off the put. So great input there. And then we have, let's see. Okay, yeah, bravo. We're definitely going to activate Super Chat soon. It's definitely on our list. It'll be coming in a couple days. And then we have R saying, Moderna, please. So mRNA, this one is like slowly selling off. It's down like 3% or so. It looks like it's just like kind of like lingering right around that 385 support.
Yeah, they are just kind of lingering down there. Like you said, it's just a very slow mover today, actually. The overall market has been really up and down. Personally, with the technicals I'm seeing right now below these SMAs and stuff, I would say I can see Moderna keep falling off to the downside. That's just me. I think we could go down and maybe retest like 360 or 350 over the next few days. I'm not saying to like load up on puts or anything right now, but on the max daily, it almost looks like a little bit of a dead cat bounce was going on again, Mike. I know that we were talking about that on AMD a while ago. Looks like there's a little bit of one happening with Moderna over the past couple of days. And with the market going back down, we might start to see Moderna go back down as well.
True that. Alrighty. And then with the next comment, we have Bravo saying, look at ExxonMobil. Sell, sell, sell. Let's take a look. XOM. Yeah, I mean, it's lots of selling pressure coming in, and it broke below a pretty strong support right at 54.
Yeah, they actually did. They broke that support and ended up falling right below that. Pretty bad thing to see. It was actually a pretty bad gap below that, too. It actually fell all the way to 53, like you'd said there. Actually at 52.95, looking pretty good today, maybe for another play to the downside. Exxon on the daily is getting pretty bad looking, though. I would expect them to hit off support eventually here, but man, I'll be honest. Like, let's go check out /CL's daily chart here, which is crude oil. And, crude oil was really holding $70 a few days ago, pretty well, actually. $65. And we actually fell right below that as of this morning and as of the end of the day yesterday. So really watch out. I think these crude companies could really start to fall off if oil keeps going down. And it's a pretty bad sign. We fell right below that 65 support. That support was holding up very well, actually, over the past like couple weeks to couple months. And I'd really watch out, though, if this sell-off continues with crude itself. Our market could keep selling off. Number one, there's a lot of factors with oil in the overall market. You guys should really check that out. And then also, if it keeps going down, I mean, we're just going to see these oil companies get shattered. And, some of these ones like Exxon have already been kind of bad. Like their balance sheets aren't the best necessarily. And if they get a big downturn, obviously the price of gas is going to go down and everything, and they're going to profit a lot less. And you can see whenever oil was down a lot before, Exxon's price was crazy low, all the way down to like $32. So we could see a big drop if it ends up getting pretty bad.
All right. And then we have Bravo saying, how much are these weed stocks going to go lower? Geez, I had to sell all my weed stocks, CGC, MJ, MSOS. I'll probably buy back short later. So yeah, I know what you mean. Like, they're just getting destroyed, and it's just been like, they've been really like hard to trade lately. Like, they'll have like great pops up like they did 2 days ago, and then they'll just give up all their gains in like a day. You know what I mean? Like, it's just been kind of just bad. I don't know how else to describe it. Like, it tries to run up and it just gets rejected. So it sucks, but I think they still have a good amount of potential for the rest of the year. And then we have Bravo saying, if there is a pop little in the market, I say it's a sell too. And then we have Gerard saying, thoughts on Boeing? Thanks. So Gerard, great comment. So I really like Boeing right now, and I really, really like it for some short puts. Like if you want to, like let's say you want to get some shares right now, And let's say, just hypothetically speaking, just for simple purposes, let's say you wanted to buy 100 shares right now. You can like short like the 210 put, and you can get paid like almost $600 cash today. And even if the stock does fall, you buy at 210. So long story short, I really, really like it for some short puts. But even if you can't do that, I think it looks pretty good for shares.
Yeah, I think it looks pretty good for shares too. And look at this trend line on the daily here. We've actually bounced off of it 3 separate times. We're going to be testing it for the 4th time here. And it's definitely a good time to average in right now. Or, well, as we start to hit this trend line, we'll be getting closer to $200 a share the closer we get to this trend line. And man, I think it looks pretty good. Hopefully it doesn't keep going down like in the short term. Like if the overall market tanks and the SPY just, has a big pullback, like a significant one, like 10% plus or something, I think then Boeing will obviously fall below the trend line and end up keep going down. But I still think it's a good time to get shares and a good time to short those puts. Kind of like what you said. If I got shares around 200, I'd be pretty happy.
Oh, yeah. All right. And then we have, with the next question, we have Santiago saying, any puts you guys recommend? I'm trying to think of one specifically. And I think it really just depends on your portfolio. Like it depends on what you have exposure to. If you have anything with exposure to like tech stocks, I would really consider some QQQ puts. And if you really just want to play like the volatility play or just like uncertainty / like selling pressure in the market, I think calls on the VXX would do pretty well. Generally speaking, when the market sells off, the VXX explodes up. So long story short, it depends who you have exposure to, but the VXX calls can be pretty good. And then we have Bravo saying there is news. 1, vaccine is waning and we could need a booster shot. 2, Fed possible taper later this year. And then 3, jobless claims. So I think the main thing was the tapering news. And then on top of that, it's just like a little bit of the fears with what's going on in Afghanistan. And I just feel like it's as simple as just people taking profits as well. Like the market's so high. I think we're up like 100% from the fall back last year in March or something like that. It was some like crazy statistic. And I just think it's as simple as taking profits and then in combination with that tapering news and then the Afghanistan fears.
Yeah, those Afghanistan fears were not helping either. And I'll be honest, I think that the tapering had a pretty big effect on the market too, Mike. And, a lot of people kind of, I think, tried to like write that off. But I'll be honest, like a lot of the reason of why the market's been flying up so drastically, well, number one is because tech has obviously been doing so well with everybody online again and stuff. But then number 2 was just because of the main factor that the Fed's been buying up the bonds. They've been buying up different assets nonstop and just really pumping up the market. And that's going to obviously help, of course. And it has been helping. And we've been getting all-time highs here. Like, look at the SPY's chart. If we go back to the beginning of after COVID's bad downturn there, the SPY is really high above here from like right after COVID. We're about like 30% above the highs, which is a pretty significant number. And, just looking at it, we're pulling back pretty hard. And I think it can continue, especially with the tapering. Like I said, a lot of people have been saying the whole time that the Fed has been part of the main reason that the market's been going up. And if they start to, taper those purchases and stuff, the market's going to start coming down because obviously there's not as much money going into it. And if a lot of sellers start to take profits at the same time, I mean, you're just talking about a huge accelerated sell-off. And I think a lot of people have been scared of this because the market's just been getting pumped and pumped and pumped. And it's almost creating a bit of a bubble, I'll be honest. I mean, some of these tech stocks were getting so high, it was getting crazy.
Yeah, literally. All right. And then we have Jay saying, any thoughts on Tesla? So I like it for the long term, but in the short term, I'm just neutral on it. There's a lot of conflicting points with Tesla. Like obviously Burries has a pretty big short position on them. And I'm just gonna be neutral on it. I definitely wouldn't short Tesla, at least right now. I don't think it's a horrible play. I just like other plays better, like Apple and just VIX calls. But I'm just gonna stay neutral.
Yeah, I'd be more of neutral on Tesla as well. It's a hard stock to trade. It's a hard one, and it's had a lot of up and down movement the past couple of days. Personally, I think it looks like it's going to go down again more. That's how I would play Tesla personally. I would personally follow like Michael Burry, and it is still below 700. I'll be bullish again if we can pass above 700 and maybe break my trend line here, but it looks like that's not going to happen in the short term. And it really looks like Tesla is just starting to fall back off a cliff here. So just be careful. I have a really bad feeling that come next week or next couple weeks, we'll start to see a pretty bad sell-off with the overall market. And when that happens, I think Tesla might come back down towards like 600 or something.
All right, and then we have Santiago saying, I'm looking for the NDX to sell off and pull down to the 50 SMA, fade down to the 382 retracement. So, I can see it. Really, it just depends on how investors continue to interpret all of the current news we have in the market. And, generally, I kind of agree with you. I just think that the QQQ especially has a lot of room to fall. And then we have Patel saying thoughts on Zillow. Let's take a look. Z. All right, so Z, it's been selling off. It's not my favorite play in the world. Honestly, I like Redfin more. I actually like Redfin for the long term, and they're at a pretty good level, and they move pretty similar to Zillow. So honestly, in my opinion, the move right now is to sell some puts on Redfin.
Yeah, I think that'd be a better way to go too. Zillow's not my favorite either. I haven't really researched either one too in depth, but I know Mike. I know you've researched them a little, and they're both kind of like in that housing sector, which is a good thing. On Redfin, there's a humongous support at $40 for the long term, and I'd really look for that to bounce off of there because that's honestly a pretty big support.
All right. And then we have Bravo saying they also talked about possible tapering without playing with bond rates, which is messed up. Yeah, I mean, it's just such a unique situation, and clearly the market doesn't like it from what we saw over the past couple days. And then we have Matthew saying, is it safe to buy long-term with current Afghanistan crisis? What if the Taliban decide to start a war? Will there be a flash crash? So, generally speaking, like if you're playing anything for the long term, the best way to go is to just slowly average in because the quote, time in the market is a lot better than timing the market. So, generally speaking, yes, it's fine to get in for the long term. I think the best way to go is slowly getting in. But then in regards to your flash crash question, the thing is that flash crashes are like a very complex topic, and a lot of times you can even see flash crashes happen even when we're in like a very strong bull market. What normally leads to a flash crash is like a glitch with like all of the computer algorithms that trade in the market, or like the HFT traders, like all of the quant traders. Like whenever they have a glitch, that can definitely cause like some sort of flash crash or anything like that. So regarding that question, it's kind of impossible to predict that. However, I would say that the tapering news is like the most important piece of news to look out for. And then if the situation in Afghanistan gets worse, that can also play a larger role in the market.
Yeah, and to be honest, like if if they were gonna like try to like start something like that, I think that the big problem would be is that like if they tried to start like a big crisis or like a war, let's say, or something like that, the main thing is that they want us out of there, So like if they start something, we'll be right back there. So like I think they'll kind of like leave us alone and just kind of let us get out of there because they obviously don't want us there anymore.
Yep. All right. And then we have Maine saying thoughts on Pfizer. So PFE, Tom, this one reminds me about Moderna so much.
Yeah, it does actually. It reminds me of it's like a splitting image. It's just it looks like we're just a couple weeks late on Pfizer. Pfizer's like in the very beginning stages, I think, of that bad downtrend that we might see happen with like that we saw happen with Moderna. And I think Pfizer could keep falling down and maybe go down to like 47.50 or maybe even like 46.50, somewhere around there. I think looks pretty safe.
All right. And then we have Hayden saying VIX was a great call yesterday. Yeah, it really popped up, and when the market tanks, this thing will explode. So definitely keep it on your radar. And then we have Bravo saying buy LMT than Matthew if you are concerned about war. So yeah, like war stocks like LMT, I guess you can say Boeing, you can say RTX, you can say NOC, and you could even say GD. You know, those are all stocks that are, I guess you can consider them war stocks, and you know, a lot of them are pretty good long-term holds anyways.
Yeah, like Lockheed, like almost all of them, honestly, are pretty good long-term holds. General Dynamics looks like it's had some crazy movement the past few years. I'd be a little careful with them, but like Boeing, Lockheed, NOC, I think Northrop's pretty good too. Like all those stocks are pretty decent. And honestly, like NOC looks like it might try to break out the new highs soon. And if something happens with war, that might be a good catalyst for them.
Yep. Alrighty. I'm trying to see what's moving right now, and it looks like as of this second, AMC is breaking down. It looks like they're down 5% on the day, and it looks like they're about to break their low of day.
Yeah, AMC's been really selling off lately, and or today anyways. I know they were having that nice bounce off of that $30 support, and they were going up over the past like week or so. I know yesterday wasn't as good for them, but definitely not looking good today. Actually fell right below this 100 SMA, and they've actually been following the purple 100 for quite a few days, falling right below it yesterday at after hours and finally tanking off below it, and then even retesting it today at open. So pretty bad signs. I think it looks like AMC, they had that nice bounce off $30, but I have a feeling we might be going back down towards there again.
All right. And then we have Keisha saying, can you explain the difference between volume and open interest in a short answer? Absolutely. So volume is as simple as how many contracts were traded today. So if you see an option with a volume of 346, 346 contracts were traded today. And open interest simply represents how many contracts are still being held just on the market. So how many contracts are open. So generally a higher open interest represents it's just easier to get in and out of your positions because there are more people. Like there's a lot of people in the market and there's a lot of buyers and sellers. So simple answer, volume is the amount of contracts traded today. Open interest is how many contracts are still open. All right. And then we have Bravo saying the SPY is going to go green. Temporary. Yeah, let's take a look at it. Like I saw it's not going down without a fight. And the one thing I want to point out is, Tom, can we go to like a daily chart on the SPY real quick? And can we go back like maybe 2 years or so, or just the max daily? I want to show everyone what happened during the crash of last March. We could see that was a nasty downtrend, right? But there were actually a lot of green candles sprinkled in the mix. Like, it would sell off big, and then like a lot of times it would actually like have like a green candle the next day, or you know what I mean? So I just really wanted to point that out to everyone.
Yeah, there was definitely a lot of like uptrend days and a lot of like dead cat bounces along the way there. And like even though SPY's green right now, like by the end of the day, I still am honestly expecting it to go back to red. So we'll have to see how it ends up moving. But I'll be honest, I think it looks like we could keep going lower, even though it's green right now. I think we might hit like resistance around 440 and could get back down there. So just looking at it, I think that's kind of the way to go too. And that downtrend then would keep in mind, like they had like 3 huge red days right off the bat, just because, keep in mind, that news was pretty, it was a pretty big surprise, of course the Taliban news is a big surprise too, but COVID ended up being a little bit worse than that news was. So just looking at it, this sell-off right now is not quite as accelerated because the news isn't quite as bad, I don't think, but I still think it's pretty bad. And I think we will get a sell-off though over the next few days. And even later today, I think we'll turn red.
All right. And then Tom, I'm not sure if you saw this one, but this is one of the few really green stocks today, and that's Macy's. Ticker symbol M is up 13%.
Yeah, they definitely had those good earnings. Look at that. They beat their earnings by like 500% or something crazy, Mike. 0.22 estimate, a 1.29 actual on the EPS. Huge rise up on the chart here. And man, look at how much they've been recovering up off of these lows around $4.38. This has honestly been kind of a crazy recovery for them. And man, I haven't read their earnings too much, but I'm guessing they had some good online numbers or something. And I'm glad to see him actually breaking out of this 1,000 SMA and out of this $20 resistance level.
All right. And then we have Iranical saying, I think the market will reverse to green today. Yeah, I mean, always trust your gut no matter what. We have a lot of mixed opinions going on. The SPY's popping up a decent amount right now. Then we have Bravo saying, how do I juggle between VIX shares and the SPY? It's hard to buy and sell both at the same time without settled cash. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's a tough question. I know one thing, obviously, like if you switch to a margin account, then you could do it all instantly. But with a cash account, obviously that changes. And then he also said MSGS turned green off the earnings today, but like the minimum gain. So MSGS, let's see. Yeah, I mean it's holding its ground pretty well right off that like 155 area. What are you thinking, Tom?
Yeah, MSGS has been pretty scary, I'd say lately, to be honest. Those earnings today, I don't even know what to think about them. They really beat their estimate by a lot, but they didn't necessarily fly up. Maybe that's just because the market was gapping down, but I'll be honest, I'd be really careful with MSGS. I think for the long term, it's a decent time to get in the shares, but personally, it's just not the stock for me. I think that their like location is just not the best. Like their state still has like a lot of restrictions and stuff. Who knows how much lower they could end up going in the short term? But like I said, they're at support. They look pretty good for the long term if you want to get some shares or maybe sell some puts on them. I do like it, but I just, it's a hard one because if the Delta variant gets worse, MSGS is going to be one of the worst hit stocks out there. So just be really careful with it. They'll get hit really hard, like I said. I think that there's just a lot of safer opportunities out there, especially with the market pulling back over the past few days. Like we're seeing, NIOs getting low, DraftKings, we're getting lots of good opportunities. Even Palantir is starting to get down again. So there's definitely a lot better stocks in my opinion.
All right, and then we have Alex saying any beaten down stocks you see for the long term for shares. So I really like Boeing right now. I like Corsair, which is CRSR. NIO is pretty solid. Redfin is pretty solid. DraftKings is looking pretty good. And then, I mean, those are the main ones. Tom, do you have any ones you're watching?
Yeah, for the long term, like DraftKings is pretty good. Like you said, I really like them. I'm really eyeing up some of these other stocks, kind of like these oil stocks that are falling. I also really like CHPT and some of these like EV charging stocks, I guess you could call them. And I really like them. They're getting down towards support. Like ChargePoint has a big support around $20. Hopefully we can hold there. We might end up going below it though if the market keeps going down. So it's hard to say, but be really careful with it in the short term. But I like ChargePoint, BLNK, stocks like that. Also like, I mean, even like some of these bigger stocks like Disney, for example, like as they start to keep falling off, they'll be a good opportunity to keep buying into as well. And then Intel's pretty low. They're actually breaking support, Mike, over the past day or two and continuing on like their second leg down. And I'll really be eyeing them up if they start to fall towards like the 50 support or even down towards like $45.
And then the last one I wanted to point out was PENN. This one's at a pretty good level, and it looks pretty good for like a dip buy. So definitely keep that one on your radar. Then we have Roberto saying thoughts on DISCA. DISCA. I like this one. It's going to move kind of with VIACA. I like it overall. It's just pretty risky.
Yeah, it's pretty risky. It is off the 1,000 SMA though, which is nice, and it's on support. So hopefully it keeps going up, and it definitely has a lot of like growth potential to the upside. And Mike, Discovery Communications, like their logo here looks just like the Discovery Channel. Are they like associated in any way, or because it doesn't seem like it?
Yeah. I mean they definitely are.
Oh, okay.
All right, and then we have M saying Facebook. So let's take a look at Facebook. So Facebook is down like 0.5%. They're just kind of doing what everything else is doing right now. Had a pretty strong gap down and it ran up right at open. I would really watch that 350 support.
Yeah, I like how you said they're pretty much just doing what everything else is doing today. Pretty typical stock as far as the market goes. So really look at it. It looks like they are actually hitting off this resistance level. So maybe they'll end up keep going down.
All right. And then we have Bravo saying, when is quad witching? September. Yes, it is in September and December. And then we have with the next question, Maine saying Palantir's popping again. Yeah, it's actually went from red to green, Tom, which is awesome, and it's running up pretty well.
Yeah, Palantir's having a great day. I mean, this is actually a pretty good recovery, all the almost up to the highs of yesterday. And if they could break above 25.50, I think it'll look for like a pretty nice move here. Looking at like the 90-day, 15-minute, it looks pretty solid actually.
All right. And then we have meme saying, "How are you feeling on AMC?" I support the movement, but it's not a play for me. And like a couple months ago, everyone was talking about AMC. It was on the front page of CNBC. It was all over everywhere. And now it doesn't have anywhere near that hype or that you know what I mean, that attention. So with that being said, I support the movement, but it's not a play for me.
Yeah, me either. It's just not my favorite right now. I did like it off the 30 support. I think playing technicals on AMC can be pretty good if you like look at it off supports or maybe like you're seeing some good SMAs it's moving off of. I think there is a lot of opportunities for it. It's just that right now I see it going down again. Like I said, I was liking it off of $30 and I was hyping it up all week, but as of now, I have to say it looks like it's going to be going back down.
All right. And then we have Bravo saying tomorrow options expire. More volatility can come back tomorrow. Yeah, I mean, one thing to keep in mind is like options expire on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday for like the SPY. Another thing to keep in mind is, I mean, I would also expect there to be, I guess, a little bit more volatility tomorrow, just given it's right before the weekend, and some traders are gonna just either sell out of their positions or enter their positions before the weekend. But I did not do like a full quantitative analysis on if there truly is more volatility on Fridays compared to other days. So just keep that in mind. And then we have J Trade saying, "Good morning, Mike and Tom. Thank you for all you do. Thoughts on Etsy?" So thanks so much for joining the stream. And let's take a look. So Etsy's up like 1.5% today, and I'll say like Etsy's doing pretty well given all of the other stocks in the market are basically tanking. So I like it. Just one thing to keep in mind is like, generally speaking, you don't want to fight the market's trend. So like, for example, like if the market's exploding up, normally you just want to like buy some calls on some strong stocks, and if the market's tanking, you want to buy some puts on some weak stocks. So like, personally, I don't like to fight the market, so like I wouldn't necessarily buy calls on Etsy right now, but I think it's really, really awesome how it's holding its ground.
Yeah, it is, and the setup doesn't look bad, but like you said, there's just so much weird catalyst going on. It's hard to fight the market in this scenario. If it was like a different scenario, maybe we could fight it, but just right now, there's just so much weird stuff going on. But I would say if we get a solid pop up back above this 200 resistance, it could be a solid play. And if that does happen, maybe the market will start to be going back up.
All right, and then we have Santiago saying, "Does anyone eat Red Robins anymore? RRGB, it's going down." Let's take a look. RRGB, wow, 20%. What's going on?
Yeah, I can't believe I'm seeing this sell off, but man, that comment has me laughing, man. I actually have a Red Robin by my house and I eat them quite a bit. I love Red Robin, to be honest. I don't know why their stock's tanking off so much, though. That's a terrible thing to see. But look at this, man, their earnings were not good. Looks like they went negative on their earnings whenever they were expected to be positive. So that's never a good sign. But man, he's got me crying right now with that comment. that was so funny. I mean, I don't know why they're dying so bad though. Let me know in the comments if you guys still eat here. Or, Mike, do you have a Red Robin by your house?
I don't, but I used to, and I'd go there every now and then. It's not bad.
Yeah, like I don't go there like every night or nothing, but it's definitely like a nice little treat sometimes.
Yeah.
I like them, and I don't know why they're selling off though. I guess just those bad earnings, and definitely a bad thing to see. But man, their earnings were terrible back here, negative 666 and negative 3.31 during COVID during those worst times. I mean, man, at least it's not as bad as then, but still not good.
All right. So yeah, I'm looking at the news on this one. It looks like the worker shortage is really hurting Red Robin. And then on top of that, they kind of just got downgraded twice. Or I guess technically it's not a downgrade, but initially they had a price target of $50, and now that was lowered to $40. And they also had a price target of $24 that got lowered to $23. So It looks like that plus that just a combination of the market falling and maybe the Delta variant fears and just stuff like that. But yeah, it's looking pretty brutal. And then we have Sean saying, "Hey Mike and Tom, I'm a bit late, but what's up with Netflix?" So yeah, this stock is actually exploding today. They are up like 3% almost. Looking at the news, I'm trying to see. Let me take a look at this news a little bit more in depth. But it looks like, so it looks like the main news I'm seeing right now on Thinkorswim says that the SEC charges 3 former Netflix software engineers with insider trading. So that's not that's not good news. So
yeah, I don't know why that would make the stock go up.
Yeah, so I don't know. Let me look into this situation. Give me a couple minutes.
And I also am seeing something that says largest U.S. pension fund trimmed positions in Apple, Facebook, Google, Tesla in Q2, but loaded up heavily on these stocks. And maybe the stocks that they loaded up heavily on will be part of Netflix. I'm kind of scrolling through here. Let's see. Yeah, it says they actually lifted their stake in Netflix by 15% to 1.17 million shares, worth about $619 million. And that is a big trade, but I'll be honest, 15% of 600 million isn't too much for Netflix.
Yeah. So it looks like that's the news, and then it looks like the market just really just started to rally just like off that positive momentum. So yeah, that's interesting. All right, and then we have memes saying, "Do you know when when Portillo's will IPO?" I don't, but I'm actually gonna watch that one for sure. And then we have Hunter saying, "One time I went to Red Robin and I got a milkshake and they brought out the rest in the blender that didn't fit in the original cup." Yeah, they always do that. I love that. Then he said, "Almost went back and smooched the chef." Oh gosh. And then we have Corbin saying, "Red Robin is very pricey. I don't eat there almost never, but if people go there, I might go there once in a while." So yeah, I mean, overall, it's pretty good. I mean, their stock is just taking a beating, though, which sucks to see.
Yeah, and I think I think this has a lot to do with the COVID stuff going on too, Mike, and especially like they said, like with this worker shortage, I think that has a big impact on them because restaurants and stuff get the worst impacts from COVID. It looks like.
Yeah, it's been really tough for them. Then we have Bravo saying, "Committing a good faith violation, is that okay during these crashes?" I don't know. And then we have Keisha saying, "CRM is back in the green. I think it's ready to take off." Yeah, CRM, it's slightly in the green. Just one thing is to watch out for their earnings pretty soon. IV is also rising. They have earnings on August 25th after market close. And then AJ said, "One time we went to Red Robin, had a milkshake, had explosive diarrhea the next day." Uh-oh.
That's nice to hear. that's not good to hear at all.
Oh my gosh. Well, that's interesting. All right, so let's take a look at what's moving in the market right now. So we have the SPY kind of holding its ground, rallying up a little bit. Palantir's kind of running towards its highs. It's trying to retest that, I guess, $25.75 level from yesterday. It's up pretty well. Netflix is holding its ground, and it's actually rallying quite a bit, while we have BABA breaking lows and falling lower.
Yup, and Mike, one of your favorite stocks, actually, Enphase, is having a pretty good recovery. Back up to the high of yesterday, not above it yet, but looks like we're touching that over the past 5 minutes. And man, just looks crazy with Enphase. Nice recovery back. Looks pretty good. And, some stocks are recovering back today, and some are just staying lower. Like we're seeing some still go to lows, but it's good news to see the majority of them kind of recovering back up, like we're seeing out of, Facebook, Enphase, some of the bigger stocks like DraftKings. Netflix, of course, is recovering up very nicely today. I'm really glad to see that, Mike. And one of my favorite stocks has actually been AMD today. They had a nice little pop back up, and hopefully they can kind of get themselves back up here over the next couple of days and maybe retest like 106 before going back down.
There we go. Alrighty. So, yeah, I mean, Tom, just let's take a look at BABA. Like, now it's down 5%. Like, this sell-off is getting really brutal.
Yeah, it just keeps creating new lows on the daily, too, like down to 164. I mean, man, like, I was really eyeing up BABA for shares around $200. I'm really glad I did not pick those up. Down 16%, not the worst on shares, but definitely not a good start to the position if you would have been loading up at $200, and definitely looking scary. I think that there's a pretty big support though at 160, which is coming up. So I think we could start to get a nice little bounce over the next few days or so. But I'll be honest, this sell-off is just so drastic, along with the US stocks starting to sell off now that China, they had some bad data a few days ago too. So it's just it's a bad situation for these stocks. And man, personally, it's really scary. The only way I would play it is maybe doing something like Hunter talked about, maybe selling some 120 puts, or something super crazy far out of the money is the only way I'd really go with this one.
All right. So Tom, do you have any last minute stocks or anything you're watching for tomorrow?
Still watching a lot of these oil stocks to keep selling off. I've been really eyeing up crude oil, and it's been starting to sell off quite a bit on the daily chart. So I'll really be eyeing up ZOM puts, possibly CVX puts, and just companies like that. CVX actually broke support today around $95 and fell right below it. So really eye up some of these stocks. Crude oil looks like it's really going to start coming down off of these 70-ish dollar per barrel highs. And I could really see it come down towards $60, or maybe even a little lower towards $58 over the next few days.
Good stuff. So thank you guys so much for watching today's stream. We had a great time, and the market is all over the place. So lots of volatility, which is pretty good. It means lots of opportunity. So thank you guys so much for watching, and have an amazing